Imagine if almost everything about you, your thoughts, instincts, even emotions, was governed by something you've never understood. Because the truth is, 98% of the human genome isn't made of genes. It's something far more mysterious. And here, the mystery begins. Why does the largest portion of our DNA refuse to speak in the language science understands? For decades, scientists called it junk DNA, a dismissive term meaning it was thought to be useless. But now, with modern technology opening new doors, that word feels like a monumental mistake. Because what they once called junk is alive. When the Human Genome Project finished in 2003, the scientific world was stunned. Out of the entire human DNA sequence, only 2% contained clear instructions to build our bodies. The remaining 98% looked like a dark, silent space, without any obvious purpose. But slowly, anomalies appeared. Under certain conditions, emotional stress, injury, even environmental shifts, the useless regions suddenly lit up as if reacting, like secret doors that had been closed for millennia. Even more shocking, some fragments activate when we feel fear, love, or anger. As if this DNA doesn't just store information, it watches us, responding to emotions we don't fully understand. If these regions aren't junk, then what is their real purpose? Why does 98% of human DNA exist in every cell, yet build nothing? Research from 2023 to 2025 revealed something unexpected. The DNA once believed to be silent actually contains the most complex activity in human cells. Scientists finally realized something. Non-coding DNA isn't a player. It's the director. It decides when genes turn on, turn off, or shift. It is the invisible architect. What left scientists speechless was this. Human traits, personality, intelligence, emotional sensitivity, are shaped more by non-coding DNA than the genes themselves, as if our identity was born from the shadows. Genes may build the body, but how that body behaves, reacts, and survives comes from this invisible blueprint, a blueprint we never knew existed. A new theory rises. Non-coding DNA may be an ancient evolutionary archive, messages passed down from species long before humans, as if we carry the whispers of beings lost to history. The strangest part is how this DNA responds to emotion. When we fear, certain regions glow. When we fall in love, others activate, as if this DNA is influenced by our very soul. In 2024, researchers discovered that non-coding DNA communicates across parts of the cell, not through gene code, but through electrical waves and complex chemical structures, like a second nervous system hidden from us. Scientists finally realized non-coding DNA decides when genes turn on, shut down, or adapt to the environment. It is the regulator of life, working in silence. Even more shocking, non-coding DNA doesn't just regulate genes, It regulates the system that regulates the genes. It is the system behind the system. At this moment, a profound realization swept through the scientific community. For decades, humanity has only studied the surface. All this time, the secrets of our bodies were hidden inside the DNA we never cared to explore. From that moment on, scientists began seeing non-coding DNA as a door that had always been locked and was finally opening. Behind it, they found patterns, not genetic patterns, but something resembling language. Researchers call it regulatory syntax, a biological syntax. Not letters, not numbers, but relationships between fragments forming sentence-like instructions, as if life is writing itself. This structure had never been seen before, not because it wasn't there, but because no one had ever looked for it. It is the architecture of life working in silence, never asking to be noticed. Its influence reaches everything: metabolism, the nervous system, even how we process trauma. Every major biological decision passes through this network first. Then came a phenomenon called emergent behavior. New behaviors not originating from any single gene, but from the complex interactions of thousands of non-coding DNA fragments. Here's the part that is both terrifying and beautiful. Non-coding DNA can adapt. It shifts when the environment shifts. It evolves, even when we aren't aware of it. Scientists eventually named it the living map, a system that doesn't just store information, but updates it, repairs it, and rewrites itself. But there was something scientists couldn't explain. This DNA knows when to change, but doesn't always know when to stop. And this is where the danger begins to appear. There are moments when non-coding DNA tries to adapt too quickly. Under extreme conditions, trauma, radiation, severe stress, its regulatory patterns become chaotic, as if the system that is usually calm suddenly panics. Sometimes this adjustment ends badly. Overactive non-coding DNA can trigger tiny mutations that were never meant to happen, like evolution firing without aiming. Scientists call this effect the genetic echo, a strange pattern where non-coding DNA repeats mistakes made decades earlier, like a dark memory haunting the body. Even more surprisingly, some of these errors are triggered by simple things: lack of sleep, emotional stress, or exposure to specific light frequencies. Small things we never imagined could influence biology so deeply. At this point, non-coding DNA appears to try controlling more than it can handle. When the body is under pressure, it reacts fast, sometimes too fast, like a system losing its balance. Yet beneath that chaos, non-coding DNA has one incredible ability. It tries to repair itself. It creates new patterns to replace damaged ones, like an organism trying to survive at any cost. Sometimes the repairs the body creates aren't the best choice, but the fastest one. In critical moments, non-coding DNA chooses temporary stability over ideal biological accuracy. At this point, one major question rises. If non-coding DNA can change, evolve, and repair itself, can it also make a fatal mistake? Science does not yet have the answer. In several experiments, non-coding DNA was seen reacting to environmental changes before the body sensed them, as if it possessed a form of biological intuition, the ability to sense danger before it arrives. Scientists call this the premonition effect, DNA that seems to read the future on a microscopic scale, preparing the body for events that haven't yet occurred. Here, science begins brushing against something that feels metaphysical. As researchers mapped these patterns, they discovered something they wished they hadn't. Certain sequences in non-coding DNA do not follow evolutionary logic, as if they emerged from outside natural patterns. Some evolutionary biologists believe these patterns are remnants of signals from prehistoric organisms never recorded, species that may have vanished before complex life began. An ancestral signal, somehow still living within us. Then scientists realized something unsettling. Certain fragments of non-coding DNA emit warning patterns when the body is under major risk. Strangely, these signals appear even when no threat is visible. But in a small number of studies, non-coding DNA continued sending warnings, even after the danger was gone, as if the body was trying to remind itself of something we cannot see. Some researchers argue that non-coding DNA may store a form of biological fear inherited from generations of creatures we've never known, fear that survived long after its original owners disappeared. At this point, one realization begins to surface, that this 98% is not merely an archive or a control system, but a biological entity that responds, reacts, adapts, perhaps even feels. In further experiments, scientists discovered something completely unexpected. Non-coding DNA fragments can influence each other, even when far apart within the cell, as if they are connected by an instant communication network with no physical form. Researchers started calling it the biological internet, a natural network linking all information inside the cell. And the largest part of this network is powered by non-coding DNA. At this stage, a bigger question emerges. If non-coding DNA is a network, do we unknowingly possess a biological algorithm? A system that calculates, evaluates, and decides without our awareness? If 98% of our DNA can adapt, react, repair, even predict, then the greatest question finally arrives. Who truly controls our body? Us? Or something far older than us? After decades of research, one major conclusion arises. Non-coding DNA is a living archive. It stores evolutionary history, biological memory, adaptive intelligence, far beyond what genes can hold. In the world of science, a new chapter begins. Humanity now realizes it is no longer studying just the body, but a system far older, far broader, and far more complex than human perception. But even after all this, one thing remains unexplained. Why does this 98% exist? What is its purpose? And is it moving towards something? And in the end, The greatest question is not how this DNA works, but what it is trying to tell us. Because if this 98% is a message, then the real question becomes, who was it written for? And why is it awakening now?